everybody. It's Sarcasm Speaks with Jared and Bob. We're coming at you on a matinee, Saturday matinee. I don't even know when is this going to come out. Thursday, right?
I think Thursday.
Yeah. Do you want to give us the rundown on how we got here?
I mean, so with the details, yeah. So
yeah.
So we were supposed to be in Vermont this weekend. Supposed to come back on Monday on the 4th. So we recorded 2 to reflect that.
Yep, we did 2 last Sunday, and then we do Tuesday.
And then we did normal Tuesday.
Yeah.
Because again, I was going to be in Vermont, and so I'm like, all right, well, let's get one in the holster because I don't know when I'm coming back. I don't know what's going on. Fucking too much bullshit. So
yeah,
get one in the holster. So I think we find out early in the week that one of her cousins, because normally it's her sister. So everyone's got a significant other, kids, whatever. So it's her sister and her 2 cousins plus associated members. So we find out one cousin's not coming during the week because his wife tested positive for the 2nd time this year. So one could argue, why did she test again? I don't know. I tried asking that. I think we're just like, whatever.
Yeah. The point of why people get tested at this point.
That's my thing is,
yeah.
Someone had said that they're like, oh, you've been like lucky so far. I go, I'm going to continue to be lucky because I refuse to take a test at this point.
Right. If I get sick, I'm just sick. Yeah, it's only sick. COVID if you test for it.
Right. Now, some people obviously have kids or health issues, whatever. I don't. So I don't care. That's why I'm also, if I'm going to be over it, I'm fucking over it.
Right.
Some people want to be over it, but they're not over it. So her sister was never coming. We had a cousin on COVID protocol. Her parents were going to be coming back Sunday, like earlier in the day. So that leaves one other cousin. Well, their toddler had a fever in the morning. So I call her when I left the golf course yesterday. And she's like, well, what do you think? I go, well, I just don't really see a point of going if they're not going. And then on the phone, she gets a text saying they're going. It's like, all right, so we're going. So we were going to leave the house at 2:30, go pick her mother up and drive up to Vermont. At about 2:10, the cousin texts back and goes, the toddler's got a fever of 103. We're turning around from Hooksett, New Hampshire.
Jesus.
I'm like, all right, well, we're good. I go, yeah. I'm not like, that was the thing is like, I'm not, and I told her this, I go, I'm not going to Vermont without people. Like, there's no point of going if there's no people. Right. So obviously the area is near a mountain and we're not skiing. I don't ski anyway, but it's fucking July.
Right.
There's no snow in July, even in Vermont. And then other than that, it's like, it's okay. It's like it's a good spot, but I wouldn't drive 3.5 hours to go there to not do anything with nobody there.
Yeah. Is there even anything like around there? Like, I feel like it's like a ski town, like it's a winter town, right? Like in the wintertime, like there's shit to do. And in the summertime, I feel like people.
Yeah. So, there's no, it'd just be bars and restaurants.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bars, restaurants, brewery, like that. Like that's what we would do. It's like, oh, let's go to the mountain because there's a restaurant. It's like, okay, we'll go eat or drink or whatever. Like, yeah. But even like getting Ubers isn't easy because it's a fucking steep hill, dirt road. Like, plus I don't even know if they fucking like are any Ubers around there, and if they would be there, would they be there in July? Like, this is my thing. I like, so
yeah. And
this wasn't like a point of contention. We were on the same page with that. It's like, there really isn't a lot of point.
Right. Yeah.
And then even then, so like she called her father and he's like, oh, I just got off the tractor doing God knows what. Cause he was up there. He had to go meet someone. So he was probably just like mowing down the fucking property. And she told him what happened. So he's like, okay, cool. I'm going to take a shower and then I'll be back. And he was back in Quincy in like 3 hours. So getting back to Hingham was only like a couple more minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, yeah. So what was supposed to be a weekend just absolutely utterly just goes to shit. And I don't think this is the first time that this has happened. I can't really remember. But I feel like there's like almost a catastrophe every time we go up.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you have like you try and coordinate like a bunch of people, especially a bunch of people with
It's
kids.
fucking children, dude. Because
kids will fuck up everything.
Even on Thursday,
yeah,
I get a text from Chris at work. He goes, "Hey, both kids have a fever. I'm probably not going to leave the house until 2." And I'm like, "Well, I'm fucking out of the gym by 2, so
yeah."
Don't you worry about that. So then I called him, and then I called him yesterday. I go, "Hey, you gotta get a load of this." And he goes, "Yep, nope, that sounds about right." He goes, "I've also been borderline shitting my pants for 3 days." So he goes, "Yeah, so it's awesome." He goes, "It's great." And it's like, what like. I just like you people with kids. I don't know.
Yeah, kids are just germ factories. They're sick like every other month.
And like and it's like
because they got bitch ass immune systems.
And I'm also like this is a very, very selfish take because it is all about me.
Hey, this is your show. It can be about you. It's fine.
But what is the motivation to having children?
Like biologically, or
no?
I was gonna say because it's like a DNA. It's like built into our DNA to continue our DNA.
Yeah.
I heard someone.
Why the fuck would I want to continue this?
Yeah, I know, right? I heard someone once. I forget who it was. It was like a psychologist or something that said and I'm sure like anyone smart enough can make an argument sound good in either direction. But he made it sound so good, and I'm going to butcher it. But he said, there's actually nothing more narcissistic than having a child, because that child obviously shares your DNA. So it's an extension of you. And it's like by you loving, because everyone says like, oh, you don't know true love until you have a kid, right? Like everyone says that. They're like, it's different. It's this thing. It's all this, yada, 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 whatever. But this one psychologist made the argument like that's actually the most narcissistic thing you could ever do is love this thing that's an extension of you, right? It's like got your DNA and you love it because it's you. And it's like, wow, like that's, and again, he made it seem way more elaborate and like explained this whole thing psychologically. And I was like, wow, that's so fucking funny that like, having kids is actually one of the most selfish things you can do, because it's like you want to propagate your DNA, right? Like you want your bloodline to continue. And then you have this child that's you, theoretically, at least 50%. And it's like, oh yeah, no, I love that thing because it's me.
And I like, first of all, no one hates me more than I hate me. So why the fuck would I want an extension of me? Now I can deal with me twice. Awesome.
Yeah, sick.
But I'm just like, all people do all the time is bitch about their kids. And like if we work through the timeline here, they don't walk until 10 to 14 months. Is that about right?
I think, yeah. I know nothing about the whole milestone shit. Like, I don't know
either. So let's just say plus or minus a year. They don't. So for a year, they can't walk.
Yeah.
And even when they can walk, they don't do it very well.
Yeah.
So that's annoying.
Yeah.
Then they don't wipe their own ass until I don't even know how old. Yeah. They don't talk until 2. So all they do is sit there and fucking cry.
Yep.
So we literally have not come up with a actual purpose of this living being, at least for 3 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say the first 4 years you're basically useless as a
as
living
a living
thing.
thing.
For 4 years, you can't do anything on your own.
Yeah.
But
A
like once
long
they get to
fucking
like
time.
5, like I feel like once they get to 5, they can probably at least feed themselves.
Well, 5 is
Right? Like,
kindergarten, so
yeah, so you're good.
generally they can like.
I mean, they still can't survive on their own.
No. But
But like,
at least by 5, it's like they still fuck it up, but like they can generally go to the bathroom themselves. They can eat themselves. Like I
right.
don't think you have to feed a kid at 4, so it's probably around 4.
Yeah.
But still, it's like they can only walk so far and for so long.
Then they get tired and sit.
They get tired, and it's like you got to carry them. It's like fucking A.
Yeah.
So then, even when they would be what you can consider having a use, just one, like they are an operating human being, because like before that, they are not an operating human being.
No.
Even then, you still have 11 years, 12 years before this thing can even drive a car itself.
Before it can get a job.
About that, before it can even get a job.
Yep.
And all they do all the time is disappoint you. Whenever anyone talks about their kids, when do they say, oh, I'm like super proud of my kid for doing X, but they're doing it without delusion?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen until at least 18.
Right.
Because it's like, you figure, it's like, oh, I'm so proud of my son. He fucking got an A in math. It's like, that's not fucking hard.
Right.
Like, that's not impressive.
Yeah.
I'll go, and last week, what did you have to yell at your son for?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, I had to yell at him because him and his friends were like digging holes to make dirt jumps out of the bikes in my yard. It's like, exactly.
Yeah.
So you're so proud of that A in math, yet they just fuck your yard up and can't fix it because they have no skills. And it's like even yesterday, so I play with 2 random guys, and like this is what I'm going with, and someone will probably be listening, like, oh, not me, and I'm like, you know what? Either you're lying to yourself or credit to you because you're the fucking unicorn. All people do is bitch about their kids.
Yep.
And they never, like, it's like very, very rarely do they have anything good to say. And again, it's not till like 18. It's like, oh, they got into this school because they tried hard, whatever. And it's cool. Like, hey, I'm proud of them for getting into fucking Harvard, whatever. It's like, okay, cool. It's like, oh, I'm proud of them because they got this job because they went to this college. It's like, again, so it's 18 years of just disappointing you and pissing you off and taking your money, fucking freeloading Canadians.
Yeah. That's the other thing too, is it's just a money suck.
Yeah. And honestly, anyone who's like, oh, I'm so proud of whatever, it's like, you're full of shit. Like, you are so full of shit. I swear to God, there's not one person who can tell me that their child, before getting into college, that they're like, oh, I'm so proud of him for whatever. It's like, you're delusional, or that accomplishment doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. Or it's like not that cool.
Oh, I'm so proud they got conference all-star in fucking track. It's like, who gives a fuck? What the fuck are you proud of?
Yeah.
Like, have you noticed that
set pretty low?
I would say, have you noticed that there's a bunch of conference all-stars, and that there's a bunch of conferences, and there's a bunch of states? Like,
yeah, there's a lot of them.
Your kid's probably in the majority here. So yeah, I don't know. I obviously I've just, obviously we've done our thing, marriage is a scam and kids are stupid and they just fucking whatever. And I'm just like, especially this week, it's like, I know one side it was the wife that tested positive, so it didn't actually have anything to do with the kids, but the reason for concern is the kids, because they have a newborn too. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh, that's probably why they're still testing and all that crap. It's like, oh, we got a newborn, like whatever. And it's like, fuck me.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember literally every holiday when one of my cousins had, when her kids were younger, they were like, I don't know, 10 and 5 now or some 10 and 6 maybe. But when they were both young, like whatever, 4 and 1 and 6 and 2, however the fuck old, it was always something. They were always sick. Like it was always like around a holiday. Like if we were going to do like Christmas dinner somewhere, it was like, oh, well, she can't go, and because this kid's sick. And then like Easter would roll around and she'd be like, oh, well, I can't go because the other one's got an ear infection. And it's like, it was always one of the two. Like her kids were always sick, and it was always around like the holidays. Like whenever we had something planned, she always had to fucking bail.
Yeah, that's because you can't have, like, this is the thing. We can't have nice things.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, I wouldn't consider a holiday a nice thing, but some people do. Like normal people probably do. It's like a nice thing to get together with your family, whatever. I just find it a fucking nuisance. And that's the thing. Like you can't have nice things because something's always gonna fuck it up. But even I was talking to Craig because his kids, it's the same thing. It's always like, oh, one of them puked at daycare, so it's 24 hours.
Aren't they a little older now?
They're older now, so
yeah.
he's almost out of the weeds now.
Yeah.
What
are they, like 10 and 12 or something like that?
Not quite. I think it's I want to say 9. They're both fall birthdays, so I think it's like turning 9 and turning 7, or turning 10, turning 8, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
It's they could be 2 years, 3 years. I don't really know. I can't keep track. Like
yeah.
People still ask me how old I am now, and I have to ask them what year it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It depends. What year is it?
What year is it? Yeah. 22. Oh, 32. Got it. So, but it was the same thing with him. It would always be like, he would text us in the morning being like, hey guys, I won't be there till like 3. One of them puked, and that's a mandatory like 24 hours or 48 hours out or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, regardless of anything. And he's like, yeah, he goes, it ain't like that anymore. Thank God.
Yeah.
But Chris's kids are still young. He's got probably 5 more years of this shit.
At least.
Well, because Dylan turns 1. When the fuck does he turn 1? I don't remember.
Is that August? Didn't he just have the kid last August? That's when we did the coverage manifesto, right? Because it was right around. I think it was around Guys Weekend.
I think it was November.
Okay. Oh, it was because
then we went to Charlotte.
It was the Charlotte trip. I knew it was. He was due right around like when we were gonna go away sometime.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I say Charlotte. He was due. I mean, Christine was due, but he doesn't have the fucking kid. That's my other favorite thing is when guys are like, oh, we had a baby, or like, oh, like we are pregnant. Like, no, motherfucker, you're not pregnant. Your wife's pregnant.
Yeah, you got laid and then showed up to like 5 appointments in the meantime. Like that's all you did.
Yeah, I am under no illusion that it's like, and even then, we're pregnant. No, I'm not doing fucking shit. Like I just kind of show up, like you said, like maybe I get there late. I don't know. Like I'm just kind of here along for the ride. Like I didn't do any heavy lifting.
Well, and I was gonna say, like, even for the second kid, it's like, dude, the guy isn't going to the appointments. We've already been there once.
Yeah,
been there, done that.
Yeah. It's funny because the two guys that I work with, one of them is having his second kid in August, and the other one is having his first kid in July. Actually, I think his wife is due in like 2.5 weeks or something. Mm-hmm. But it's funny because the one that's having the second kid will be like, oh yeah, that's fun. Like talk like in reference to the guy having his first kid, be like, I remember when I had my first kid. Like he couldn't come to, like we had like a work dinner a few weeks ago, and he had to bail because he had to go to like a birthing class.
Yeah.
And so the second kid guy is like, yeah, it's typical. Like that's your first kid. You know, you don't know what you're doing. You're like, oh no, I got to go to this birthing class. I got to read all these books. I got to do all this. And he's like, yeah, the second one, we're just like, yeah, we'll figure it out. But he's just like, it's funny, like seeing the difference and the contrast But the guy that's having the second kid is like, oh no, I was exactly the same way with the first kid, because you're just like, you don't know what to do. So you feel like you have to go to all the classes, you have to do all the stuff. And then by the time you roll around with the second kid,
it's like, I didn't read the baby books.
Yeah. But then after the first one, it's like, fuck it, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, been there, done that.
Yeah, exactly. Which, I mean, also too, at the same time, like if you do all like the classes and the books for the first kid, like you then don't need to do the exact same thing again anyway. You already did it.
Yeah, why the fuck would you do it again?
Why would you go through a birthing class again for a second or third or fourth kid? You know what I mean? It's like the people, I know we've talked about this before, but it's like the people that have the baby shower for like the fourth kid.
Oh, fuck that.
And it's like, all right, dude, like I think this is your fourth kid. Like it's called hand-me-downs, bro. Like figure it the fuck out. Like otherwise, don't throw away all your baby shit if you're gonna have 4 kids.
Or the gifts are just gonna be in a fucking trash bag where it's like all your friends are giving you the shit that they don't want anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, oh, are you having a girl or a boy? Boy, okay, hey, grab the black bags. The black bags is boy stuff.
Yeah.
Like
the only time it would be even remotely acceptable is like if the first 3 kids were girls and then you were having a boy on the 4th. Still but even no. Still, like no.
Still no. Nope. You do not get a baby shower after one.
Yeah.
I also wonder, like, and this is a completely uninformed opinion, what the fuck is the point of the birthing class? Isn't that why you go to the hospital and pay these like tens of thousands of dollars?
Yeah,
aren't they supposed to birth the child? Because like having a baby isn't free. Like you pay a shitload of money in like medical bills for this child. So why do you take a birthing class? Shouldn't the nurses and the doctor and the delivery, like, shouldn't they all know that?
Yeah, I would imagine.
Again, uninformed take, but never mind. Again, it's not fucking 1892 where it's like you need a birthing class because you might have a baby in the barn or something. Like,
yeah.
Generally, we're going to make it to the hospital.
Right.
And yeah, once I'm in the hospital, like, why, what do I need to like, what are they going to tag? This is like the fucking US Open. It's like, oh, I'm wearing my golf shoes. They're going to tag me in. It's like, no, if you go to a real hospital with actual, like an actual like birth unit, whatever, or child, whatever the fuck it's called.
Labor and delivery.
Whatever. If like it's a real department at a real hospital, shouldn't they have the qualified personnel?
Yeah, you would hope, right?
Not the fucking strength coach.
Yeah.
Like really, should I really be delivering this child?
Yeah, unless, your doctor's on like vacation, like and knocked up. Yeah. They have to go with the backup guy. They got to call in the reliever.
Yeah. So like, I just don't, again, it's an uninformed take, but like, I just don't understand that part of it either. It's like, why am I not only paying like 15, 20 grand to have this child? Why do I need to know how to deliver it? I thought, again, it's like usually like an exchange of services. Like if I'm paying, then that means I'm not doing it.
Right.
If I need to deliver the child, then I guess we'll go out to the barn. Like, I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, also too, I mean, again, I have zero experience with this, so uninformed take. But from what I hear, it's like once it's go time, like all that shit goes out the window anyway. Where it's like you learn like, oh, this is what you're supposed to do. And don't forget this breathing technique and all this stuff. And then it's like, hey, I'm going into labor. It's like, all right, well, drop everything and let's get to the fucking hospital. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh, don't forget your breathing technique. It's like, no. It's like, let's go. It's go time. Like,
yeah, and
get in the fucking car.
There's a lot of things like I do pride myself on a person who knows when to shut the fuck up. And I think a lot of people don't know when to shut the fuck up.
Oh, yeah.
But I just have a feeling that when a woman is like on the cusp of delivering this child, I think a couple of the cliches must be true. Like you provide a hand for her to squeeze the ever living fuck out of, and she might break your hand.
Yeah, it's okay.
And
you
then
can cast that up.
Like,
be fine.
Like when it is like go time, and it's like, we are like into this. Do you really think that the mother that's about to deliver this child is going to listen to like reason and rational thoughts? Like, I don't think so. I think priority is get this fucking thing out of me.
Yeah, that's literally like 99% of the time.
Yeah.
That's the story that you hear, right? So like, again, one of the guys that I work with, when he had the first kid, he was telling me the story about how him and his wife had this whole plan that they wanted like a natural birth, like she didn't want any drugs, and she's a nurse. So
Drugs.
so his wife is a nurse, but she understands all this shit, whatever. And she like went into labor, and I think it was like an extended labor, but it was one of those where she was like, fuck this, get me the epidural. She's like, I don't give a fuck. Like, I want this. And then because he's telling me the story, and he's like, yeah, this is how it works, right? Like, you have this plan, and then like it's go time, and you're like, nah, fuck that. Like, we're just like, give me the fucking epidural because it's drugs, right? You feel great. You're like, I mean, I can't imagine the amount of fucking pain, but you get that epidural, and once it kicks in, you're like on fucking Queer Street. You know what I mean? Like, you're just happy as can be. You're like, oh, am I having the baby? Who's having the baby? You're just high as a fucking kite.
And now I'm gonna sleep for 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like that's I don't know. I just like, again, it's an uninformed take because I haven't done a birthing class. I don't plan on doing a birthing class. I don't plan on doing any of this shit. But I just got to imagine it just like doesn't go that way.
Yeah. Right.
It's almost like, dude, it's almost like CPR class, where it's like, they're like, stay nice and calm, you know, assess assess the area.
Yeah.
And then like point someone out. Hey, you call 911. And you point to someone else. It's like, you go get an AED. And it's just supposed to be that fucking easy.
Right. As if it's not going to be fucking chaos.
No, like the way I envision it going is if someone goes down and I'm like the first person there, and it's like, all right, I'm going to have to do CPR on this motherfucker. Like, I'm going to tell everyone to get the fuck away from me. That's gonna be number one. Like, everyone just get the fuck away from me.
Right.
Unless you know CPR, in which case, pop a squat.
Start a Congo line.
Yeah. If you know CPR, pop a squat. If you don't, get the fuck away from me. That's probably how I would start.
Yeah.
Then I would probably point to someone like, call 911. If they fucking ask me any stupid fucking questions, big call 911. I don't give a fuck. Just call them.
Yeah.
Call them, tell them where you are, and hang up. I don't give a fuck.
They'll call back. That's how it works.
They'll call back or they'll show up, one or the other. Like, if you can't handle it, then get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then someone, I already know it. It's like, hey, go find an AED. So, oh, do you know where one is? No, I don't fucking know where one is, or else I'd fucking tell you where it is. Go fucking find one.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's like, this guy's about to fucking die. I barely know what I'm doing, even though I've taken CPR for the last fucking 12 years.
Yeah.
Like, I've never actually used it. So I don't know if I know what the fuck I'm doing, because, you know, punching the dummy is fine. But like, dude, that's not a human.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's very different, I would imagine.
Never mind if it's like, say it's a guy that goes down and he's like fucking like 300 pounds. It's like, how much do I actually have to like, fucking pump into this person?
Right. Right.
And then it's like, you know, if it was like a smaller person, it's like, you know, you give one, you hear a crack. It's like, oh shit, I just fucking put a rib into this person's heart. Like,
yeah.
It's like, fuck, I just killed him.
Well, thank God for the Good Samaritan laws.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. When do I have to? Oh, I have to go again next year. March.
Yeah, I just re-upped mine this year.
I got to go next year for March, I think.
Yeah. I always forget, but we're on opposite years, because I feel like every time I have to renew,
you ask me and it's like, I don't have to go.
Hey, do you need to re-up this year? And you're like, no. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
I actually have to like go to like a place.
I have to go to a place every time. Like, it sucks.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, right? Like it's true, right? Like you watch the videos and like the CPR class, and it's like this one person like walks over. It's like, assess the scene, point this person, point that person. It's like, all right, well, what happens when there's like 50 fucking people and everyone's just like running around? Like, imagine like if someone went down at the US Open.
Yeah.
Right. Because you got people that are shit faced, right? Yep. And then you got like What are you going to do there?
Aye.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's absolute fucking chaos, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
never mind. Never
assess
mind.
the
It's
scene,
like,
get an AD, you call 911, you do
you're
this.
right.
I'm good. And then you like tap the shoulders. Are you okay? Are you? It's like, no. It's like, I might like fucking jostle him a little bit and be like, all right, let's go time. And fucking 30-2.
And then my favorite, oh, you need any help? Oh, you need any help? Oh, you need any help?
Yeah.
Yeah. Get the fuck away from me.
Yeah.
The most help that you can provide is just getting the fuck away.
Yeah. You know, CPR, get in line. Let's go.
Yeah.
I got got 2 minutes. Then it's you.
You're next.
Actually, I think they changed. Well, I think it depends on how many people are around. But I think they said if you have enough people, it's better off doing like 90 seconds, which I think is 2 rounds. 2 rounds of 30-2 or something like that. And then switch out. I don't know.
I mean, either way, it's all irrelevant because I'm never going to have a face shield. So it's like I'm never actually going to give this person any breaths. So
yeah. And that's the thing too, right? Because they're like, it's funny how everything has changed over the years. Because now, because I just did it in like February or March when I did my class, whenever that was. And they were like, yeah, so like, you know, forever we've told people 30-2, but like, you can really just give chest compressions and like you're fine.
Oh, they're back to that.
And I'm sitting there like, why? Like, why for as long as CPR has existed have we been doing basically 30? I think at one point it was 15-2. Now it's 30-2, and now they're just like, yeah, or you can just give chest compressions.
You know what's
like,
funny? What? I went. Oh shit! Now I don't know because I feel I've done it. There were a couple that expired after a year, and there were a couple that were 2 years. So I've probably actually done the course maybe 6 or 7 times in 12 years, something like that.
Yeah, I think I've probably been doing CPR since 2010. So it's 12 years. So probably 6 times.
Yeah. Unless I snuck another one in. Cause I know at first I did it through the Red Cross, and Red Cross is only a year.
Okay.
So I might've had to do like 10 and 11 and 12, but then not again till 14, 16, 18, 20. No, because now my years are off. I don't know. Not important. 1 year out of them all, and it hasn't been that way since at least 2015, because I know the curriculum hasn't updated since then. 1 year they told me you don't have to do breaths. You can just do compressions. Yeah. And the next year we were back to breaths. So now the running joke is always like, so are we doing 30-2 or are we just doing 30? What are we doing?
Right.
I
don't know. My favorite is when they occasionally, so this doesn't happen again. So like if I've sat through the class like 6 times, maybe like twice, the instructor has mentioned like, oh, it works the same way like on a dog too. And they're like, but you have to like hold the mouth shut and like breathe through the nose. Like it was just like a random like one, like it wasn't part of the curriculum. It was like the instructor would just kind of like said whatever. So I'm like imagining like trying to give CPR to a dog. I don't think I would do that. Like, I don't think I would understand the situation in which the dog needed CPR. You know what I mean? Like,
are you okay? Are you okay? The dog didn't answer.
Yeah. Like, and it's just weird. They're like, oh yeah, if you're going to do it with the dog, hold the mouth shut and blow through the nose. And it's like, I don't know.
I also don't think a dog can like lay on its back.
Yeah. Like,
and
I don't
stay on its back.
Yeah. It's weird.
And then if you, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think I would do CPR on a dog.
No, for sure not. But, and then like the baby one freaks me out, right? Because it's like 2 fingers. Like they're like, please just use 2 fingers. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. I guess that makes sense, right? Like it's a small fucking thing. It can't take care of itself. It's useless. Yeah. Can't even do the full CPR on it.
Yeah. Useless. I like how that came full circle.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good one. What else we got? Oh, speaking of useless, I saw the other day This is legitimately useless. USC and UCLA are planning on leaving the Pac-12 and joining the Big Ten.
Yeah, geographically, this is just got to be the right call.
Yeah, yeah, makes tons of sense, right?
So the furthest west school prior to this week was Nebraska. And I believe Lincoln is in the eastern part of Nebraska. So I don't know what Nebraska borders. Probably Iowa or something.
Yeah.
Maybe Illinois, something like that.
Yeah, I think maybe Illinois, Missouri.
I don't know my maps. So Big Ten country, Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin,
Kansas,
Illinois, Iowa. Kansas is in Big Ten. They're Big 12.
All right.
Iowa, Indiana, like all the I's and all the Great Lakes and all that shit. Ohio, like whatever. And now they just added 2 schools in fucking California. Like,
it's the dumbest thing ever.
What, like, and why? Like, those 2 schools aren't that good.
No. I saw a funny meme. It was like a screenshot of like the field of a lineup, and it was like USC and UCLA seeing someone play with a fullback for the first time. So it was like a screenshot of like, I think it was Nebraska in like an I formation. And then it was like the bottom half of it was like a guy's face with like big wide eyes being like, what the fuck? Like, what are we supposed to do with this?
Yeah. I mean, Pac-12 country has been weird.
Yeah.
For a while. And I know it's like, okay, so the schools are like moneymakers. So it makes sense for the Big Ten, but I just don't understand geographically, like how or why. Like,
yeah, it doesn't make any sense. I think we're inching closer and closer to just like a national collegiate system, right? Like I think we're getting there because everyone's just moving around. Everyone's just jumping around. So it's like, what's the point of having these geographical divisions or conferences, I guess, when, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like with the new NIL deal and now these teams that are jumping around, I would say within probably the next decade, it's going to end up just being a national league, like a national NCAA, and then they'll just go to like divisions. You know what I mean? Like they'll do away, or they'll keep the conference names, but they'll call it like the Southeast Division or like the West Coast Division. And then like maybe they call it, I don't know, because you can't keep the same name, but like you can't call it the Big Ten Division, but you know, the Central Division or, you know, like
isn't that effectively the system it is right now? Because like if you make a division, a conference, it doesn't matter what you call it. It's like those are the teams you play.
Technically, they're all separate entities, right? So the Pac-12 conference is its own separate thing from the Southeastern Conference. Like there's no like revenue sharing between those two. It's all interconference sharing stuff. So like if they switch to a national system, it's like, it'd be similar to the NFL where like you're under one umbrella and then you just have divisions.
See, I was thinking from a competition standpoint, because a competition standpoint, there's no difference. But from a business and financial standpoint, there is a difference.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I don't know, you could make the argument it could potentially be better for the game too, because then you would have a school like, you know, like a Kansas State that sometimes is good and sometimes isn't. But like if there was like one national thing, like they would have the exposure, right? Because they would play Ohio State every year, or they would, you know what I mean? Like however you rework the divisions, you know, you could take some of those smaller schools like a Miami, Ohio, or like I said, a Kansas State or a Kent State, or, you know, some of those schools that, you know, just are a little bit smaller, and then they can be more visible, I suppose, or get the benefit of having more money because they're in a national league.
I think that's the difference, is the smaller schools would get a bigger cut of the total.
Yeah.
But the bigger schools will block that. So it
Yeah.
won't happen.
Yeah.
That it won't happen that way. So it's like with the NFL, it's the NFL generates whatever money in TV and each team gets 260 million.
Yeah.
That will not happen
Yeah.
in college. The bigger schools are too powerful, so we will not see that. Like
Yeah.
where
Then
it's
you
equal.
run into
We won't
it,
see equality.
it gets a little goofy too, because some of these conferences have their own channels, right? Like there's the
Right.
Big Ten network.
Yep.
And I think there's a Pac-12 network too.
There's an SEC network, an
Yeah.
ACC network. They all have their own network. And Texas has its Longhorn network.
Right. Right.
No, and that's what, but then it's also like, so there's 130 teams and they play 12 games. There's not enough to go around. So you have to keep the divisions. It's just, or you have to keep either the conferences or divisions or whatever. Like you have to keep that because you kind of need to know who the fuck you're playing in a way.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't have to be as strict, like, oh, you can only have 2 out of conference, whatever.
Right.
That could change. But
then
it sounds like they want to go to super conferences, which I don't know what benefit that is.
Yeah. If you do go to like a national, like NCAA umbrella, you could include it so that the schedule is a little bit more predictable, right? So if you have the 12 games and say you have 3 out of division games every year, you could then rotate it similar to the NFL, right? So like we don't know the exact teams, but we know like, okay, as a Patriots fan in 2022, they're going to play the NFC West. And then in 2023, they're going to play the NFC North, or you know what I mean? Like it's the rotating thing. You could do that in the NCAA and you could say like, okay, well, as the West Coast division, you know, in 2023, they're going to play the Atlantic division. And in 2024, they're going to play the Southeastern division. So you would get into like that rotating system. So you would know like every, 4, 5, 6 years, you're going to get USC versus Alabama, or, those goofy games that you wouldn't get unless it was like a playoff or something, but they're 2 big markets, right?
I think the bigger schools make too much money making their own deals though.
Yeah.
So like when Alabama and FSU, which I know they're not as big, I'm sorry, LSU and FSU, when they're not as big right now because neither of them are very good, but they signed like a 2-year deal to play each other opening weekend this year and next. So it's like the problem with like a national thing is the smaller schools can't really, like, there's a reason why the MAC is as close as it is, because they can't really afford to fly to BC 1 week, in Florida another week, in California the next week, and then Washington another week. Oh, and they still have 2 more road games.
Yeah.
Like the MAC and these other schools, they're kind of like close because
they also
they're
play
smaller.
On Wednesdays.
Right. Because they're smaller, they have less money, it's harder for them to travel, like all that.
Yeah.
And the bigger schools just have way too much power that they will not give up. And they will absolutely be able to do it. So I don't, the only thing I don't understand is everyone's like, oh, this is the evidence of super conferences. And it's like, I don't understand that. Like, what is a super conference? Is it just bigger? So it's like, instead of 5 conferences of 12 to 14, which is anywhere from 60 to 75 teams, you have 3 conferences of 25. Is that the difference?
Yeah. And it's the same amount. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
And I don't understand well, I guess there's a little bit of a benefit. Like if you are the SEC and say you buy up the ACC, and then you can take, what schools are in the South? You could take UNC, NC State, Wake.
South Carolina's
already there. Clemson, FSU, those would be like your prizes. Miami. Because a lot of the ACC is actually in the South. Ooh, Virginia, that's south of the Mason-Dixon line. We'll give them that. They can have Virginia Tech, Georgia,
Maryland,
Georgia Tech. Oh, for whatever fucked up reason, Maryland's in the Big Ten now because realignment.
Oh shit, I forgot about that.
So, like most of the ACC, actually,
is it all of it except for BC?
BC's the only team.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's Virginia Tech,
Georgia Tech.
Yep.
Wake, Duke.
Yep.
What's that? 5?
NC State.
Yep. NC State, UNC. That's 7. FSU, Clemson. That's 9.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think what shitbag teams they play.
Delaware didn't join the ACC.
No. They're still below.
Syracuse.
They are. Ooh, did they move to the SEC? I'm sorry, to the ACC. They might be an ACC team.
Yeah,
so they're in New York.
So it's Syracuse and BC are the only ones that are in the Northeast.
Yeah, they actually might be the only teams. Like I'm trying to think out, like because Pitt moved over. So that's what, 3 out of 14?
Yeah.
Louisville's in the South. Yeah, I mean, so they like those 3 teams could join the Big Ten, and the rest of the ACC could just go down to the SEC, and now there's no more ACC. Moving on with our lives.
Right. Yeah, or those 3 can just go to the Big East.
Well, there is no more Big East football.
Oh shit.
That's what it is.
What's UMass in? Are they in the MAC?
I don't know what they're in. They might not even have a conference.
Are they the Sun Belt?
I don't know if anyone wants them.
The Fun Belt?
The Fun Belt? They could be. I don't know. They might be in the Fun Belt. I think Coastal's played them a couple times.
Yeah, they might. I actually think that sounds right. I think they're in the Sun Belt.
Yeah, I mean they're not a real school though, so let's not.
No.
Oh, they're not a real football program.
No, they.
So I don't care what conference they have to play in.
They're roughly 3 hours from Gillette Stadium, and they use that as their fucking home field until they could build a real stadium. Like,
plus
you have to drive 3 hours for a home game.
They are just awful. Like they are just really, really bad at football.
Yeah. Let me see. They play. Yeah, Coastal, Toledo, UConn, Florida State, Liberty. Oh, they play a really fucked up schedule.
Yeah, that was 3 different conferences right there.
Yeah, maybe they're not in a conference. They play.
They could be independent.
Pitt. This was their schedule last year when they went 1-11. They played Pitt, BC, Eastern Michigan, Coastal, Toledo, UConn, FSU, Liberty, URI, Maine, Army, and New Mexico State.
Yeah, that's all over the place. They could be independent.
Yeah. Huh. Was there one? Oh, their one win was UConn.
That was awful. Those are probably the 2 of the fucking worst teams in football.
Yeah.
Yeah, around here, it's like, oh, those 2 big schools, UConn, UMass. Yeah, they're a fucking joke. Athletically, they're a joke.
Yeah.
As is BC.
Yeah, BC sucks. What else we got?
Should we crush California really quick, or is that your final thought?
Yeah, no, let's crush it. Always.
So I don't know why anyone wants to live in this place. I cannot figure out what is so fucking appealing to California outside of the weather. What, on the coast, or is it just in San Diego where it's
basically
always nice?
Just Southern California? Because once you get further up, like it's not that, like, people forget it fucking snows in San Francisco and like rains all the fucking time. Like everyone's like, oh, California is beautiful. Oh, San Francisco, you go there for the great weather. Why? The weather's not that good in San Francisco. Like San Jose, not that fucking great weather. I think they get snow. It's like, yeah, I mean, go to San Diego. LA is a fucking hellhole, but like you go to San Diego and it's absolutely beautiful. And like outside of that, Like, so I think I said this before. There's two places in California, San Diego and Lake Tahoe. Everything else can just get fucked, in my opinion. Like, I don't give a shit.
I'm gonna pull up a map of California real quick, because obviously I'd like to play at Pebble Beach, but during our winter, Pebble Beach is usually pretty shitty.
Yeah, I think
Like, you
Pebble's
never
in
know.
Northern California.
It's northern. It's it is north. It's definitely north of LA.
Because it's one of those things when people hear California LA for weather, they immediately just assume LA, San Diego. But we've talked about this before too, but like California spans literally the same amount of space that it goes from like Georgia to like New Jersey. Yeah. So it's like the weather in New Jersey fucking sucks in the wintertime. So if you follow like the latitude line across and you're in San Jose or San Diego, like the weather's going to fucking suck there too, because it's on the same, like it's pretty far north.
Yeah, so Pebble Beach is south of San Jose, but significantly north of LA.
Yeah, so it's probably actually like mid California, like it's near like Sacramento.
No, because Sacramento's way north.
Okay.
It's west of Fresno.
Okay. Go Bulldogs.
So I don't know why anyone wants to fucking live there. Like, I really don't. But now they're going to start taxing the fuck out of batteries, or lithium, which is used to make the batteries.
Yeah.
So they're so they're all knowing their simple solution of, oh, gas is too expensive, just buy an electric car for, $60K minimum.
Yeah. Yeah, I posted about that on our Instagram. Like, it was the out of touch politicians, right? They're like, "Oh, I don't pay for gas because I drive a Tesla or I drive an electric car," which, like you said, like the cheapest electric car you can probably get is like somewhere around 40, 50,000.
I think so. If we're going to be completely fair, I do believe in a Tesla sedan.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe you can get one for like 35 new, 35, 38, something like that. So it's not 60, but
yeah,
a lot of people aren't paying 38 for cars anyway.
Yeah. So they're like, oh yeah, just get an electric car. Like, as if like it's easy, it's easy for someone to go out and buy upwards of $75,000 car. And now,
if you're someone, and now I know we crushed people with kids and children and whatever, but if you do have kids, you can't have a fucking Tesla sedan. And I think that's like I could have a Tesla sedan if I want one.
Right.
But I don't. And yeah, like I can fit in a small car like that, but like a family can't. So right. Yeah, so now you are in that 60 plus range.
Right. So now they're like, oh yeah, so that electric car is now going to be more expensive because the state of California is going to start taxing lithium, which is the metal that's used in batteries.
Yeah, what's the problem? No, this is why California is a fucking hellhole.
And they're also going to start the other thing they're going to do is they're going to get. Did we talk about this in a previous episode? They're going to give stimulus checks
because gas is so expensive.
Because inflation has caused gas prices to go up. So they're going to give people stimulus checks to pay for gas. And it's like, but isn't that going to make inflation go up more? Like, that's what makes inflation worse.
No, this is different.
Yeah.
It's like using gas to put out a fire.
Basically.
Hey, here's a way to make things worse.
Yeah.
No, I just don't understand how does California just not understand anything? They don't get one goddamn thing.
No.
Like, they literally cannot do anything right, and like whatever they decide to do doesn't make any fucking sense. And it's really amazing that people will still live there and still continue to think it's good, and like, never mind all the other bullshit, like fucking too many people, too much traffic, like all that shit. Like, forget all that stuff. Like literally the people in charge cannot figure anything out. Like nothing at all. Nothing. Nope. Not one thing. Like there is nothing that they fucking do right ever, regardless of topic.
Well, the one thing they did right is they recalled the district attorney in San Francisco.
Okay.
Because
now, are they going to vote him? Are they going to vote this person back in like they did with Newsom?
Yeah, that remains to be seen.
Because they got the recall right, but then they got the vote wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
You recalled the guy and then fucking put him right back. Like,
yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that's partially on the Republicans for not really having a viable candidate. Like they went with, because everyone was like, oh, Larry Elder. It's like, okay, I'm sure he was fine, but like, you need someone with a little bit of firepower to beat Gavin Newsom because he's a fucking household name like across the country. I mean, like people know, like you could go to someone in Ohio, right? And be like, oh, who's the governor in California? They'd be like, oh, Gavin Newsom. Like he's been in the news, like he has a name, right? Like his name carries a little bit of weight, even though he's a huge cunt. Like you can't run a nobody against him. Like you gotta, and you could go back, I think it was 2003 when the other governor, I forget who it was, but there was another governor in California who got recalled and who beat him in the recall election, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger came in as a Republican and beat the governor that got recalled. And then he won his next election after that too. And so it's like, if you're going to recall someone, which means you're going to have an election in the middle of this person's term, like you got to throw someone with a little bit of fucking weight behind them. You can't just be like, oh yeah, no, this guy's cool. He's a radio show host. People like him. It's like, okay, but they don't really know who he is and what he stands for. And I don't know. He didn't really have like a lot of money backing. He like just barely won the primary. And it's like, you're going against a juggernaut like Newsom who gets fucking money from George Soros. And it's like, I don't know. It's whatever, but they did recall the district attorney in San Francisco because that place has gone to absolute fucking shit. I think Michael Schellenberger is actually going to run for governor in California, which I think is amazing. He's an author. He wrote the book San Francisco, that talked about how progressive politics has absolutely destroyed California and focused mostly on San Francisco, hence the title of the book. But he talked about like homelessness. One of the biggest things, because he was on an episode of Joe Rogan when his book came out over the winter. And he said that, I'm going to butcher this, but we're not a fact-based show anyway. So say like there's been $250 million in the budget to solve homelessness in California. And like, that's been the budget for the last like decade. And homelessness has gotten worse in California every single year. And this year they just filed to increase that to like $300 million. So he's sitting there as kind of he's like an author journalist type person. And he's like investigating all this and goes, if we're going to invest $300 million into the homelessness problem in California, we need to make it better. And why is it getting worse? It's literally been getting worse every single year since the year like 2000 or whatever. And he's like, this is ridiculous. Like you can't, in what world can you do really shitty at your job and then ask for a raise every year? You know, like you have one goal, right? Like the office of like homelessness in California, like you have one goal, fix the homelessness problem. And over the last 22 years, it's gotten worse every single year. And you're like, yeah, can we have more money though?
Well, due to inflation.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, he went into like how much money the people make, like the bureaucrats, like in the middle positions and upper positions. There's like someone who runs one of the government homelessness things. His salary is like $250,000 a year. Or like $200,000 a year to not solve the problem. And it's like,
well, you do know that there is like, there are positions where this happens, where you get paid progressively more to like not accomplish results, and it's government. at all levels.
That's the only place, right?
It's the only place.
That's why we need smaller government. Because it gets bloated and then you get stupid shit like this. But what do I know?
Nothing. You know nothing.
I know nothing. That's true. The other last thing before we wrap things up, since we're on the politicking aspect here, there was a poll done by Rasmussen, maybe, or I don't know, some fucking company, one of those big polling companies, that asked people their thoughts on who they want or who they don't want to run for president in 2024. The Harris poll. So I feel like Harris is a pretty big company when it comes to polls, right? It's like Harris, Rasmussen. What's the other one? I don't know. I can't. Politico, maybe. I don't know. But so the Harris poll said they polled. They don't give the exact number of people that they polled, but 71% of the people asked during this survey said that they do not want Joe Biden to run for re-election in 2024. 71% said they don't want him. Which is,
I mean, dude, what is he
astronomical.
doing? So obviously the Republicans don't want him, but like the Democrats don't want him either. Like, he's not doing anything.
Yeah. So then they broke it down.
Sucks. Like,
they broke it down more. So among the contingent of the respondents who believed he shouldn't run, so of the 71% of people that said they don't want him to run for a second term, 45% of that said they don't want him to run because he's a bad president. Roughly 30% of that said they don't want him to run because he's too old. And then about 25% of it said they don't want him to run because it's time for a change.
2 years. 2 years and it's time for a change. What was that percentage?
For that, like 25%.
So a quarter of the people. And that's a quarter of the people that don't want him, right?
Yeah. So 25% of the 71.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know what that comes out to, but
yeah,
18, 17, 16. Time for a change.
Yeah.
2 years.
And then only 30% of Democrats said that they would vote for him in a Democratic presidential primary, which
that's not good.
Is not good. That's very not good, right? Because there's been rumors that AOC might run for president in 2024.
Oh, God.
Which would be an absolute fucking disaster. I think it would be a terrible idea for her, but whatever.
I think it would be a terrible idea for the Democrats too.
Yeah. Because she's too fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like, if Bernie Sanders couldn't win, then she for sure is not going to. She makes Bernie Sanders look like fucking Ronald Reagan. And it's just not a good idea. But she's been asked a bunch of times recently, like, oh, would you support President Biden in 2024? And she just completely blows off the question. She's like, well, we have a lot of problems to focus on now. They're like, yeah, but would you support him?
I think she said no one time. I thought I saw that on like Breaking 911.
Oh, okay. Maybe she did say no. But then she was on Colbert recently. Vinny sent me this, and she was in Colbert, who's turned into a huge fucking bitch. Was like, oh, I know someone that's going to be 35 right before the 2024 election. Maybe she should run. And then she starts laughing and she pulls the same shit. She's like, no, I have other, problems in my own district to worry about and all this shit. So it's like,
yeah, she's going to run.
She
doesn't care about the problems in her district.
Yeah, no, she doesn't.
It's very, very short-sighted to think that a politician actually gives a fuck about the people they represent.
It would just continue to be like very not good, right? Like if she primaries a sitting president, like that would be an interesting thing. I don't have the time to look into it right now, but
Grover Cleveland.
But yeah. When is the last time a sitting president got primaried in their re-election bid?
Definitely would not be modern. And I don't know what modern is, so just like, modern.
Yeah, like I don't even know if Jimmy Carter got primaried. And people hated Jimmy Carter.
And I would also say, if anyone in the modern era did lose their primary, it would be because the original president was removed, so they were a replacement. So like Lyndon Johnson, I don't know. I don't like, I do not know my history. I don't give a fuck about that guy either.
Yeah.
But like, if he, after JFK died, if he took over and then didn't win the primary, like that doesn't surprise me. He wasn't voted president. He was put in office.
But he did win re-election.
Whatever. Again, I used him as an example. Like I didn't.
Right.
Because I don't know all of
like whoever succeeded like William McKinley after McKinley got assassinated. Like maybe.
Whoa, was it William Henry Harrison only served like 31 days?
Something like that. Yeah, he died of like pneumonia or something stupid. Because it was like, that was like a real thing. Like you could die from it being too cold outside in like the 1800s.
Dude, you still can.
Yeah, I guess. But I mean, we have modern medicine.
You have to be sick. Like you got to be like old or very sick to pneumonia will still get you. But
well, that's the thing. I heard this on Rogan recently. I forget who, again, one of his guests that he had on, they were talking about like ancient humans and like, you know, hundreds or thousands of years ago. And he was like, there's a common misconception that people only used to live to be like 40. Like back in, say, like the ancient Roman days or the Greek days, whatever. It's like people always assume, because they say like they said the average age or average lifespan, however it's worded, was like 47 years old or something. So people just assume that no one ever lived to be like 80, right? People just think that like, oh yeah, we live so much longer now. It's like, well, we live a little bit longer, but like there were people that lived to be 100, 400 years ago. But the only problem is they didn't have modern medicine. So like you could literally die of a fucking cut. Like if you were like cutting down a tree and you like cut your arm and it got infected, you would die. You would die at like 17. So it's like, you know what I mean? So it's not that people didn't, it's not like people just automatically just die. They only live to be 50. Like we've always had the capacity to live somewhere between 80 and 100, but it's like people just died of dumb shit. Like I said, like you could get a cut, get it infected, and then you die, or you get pneumonia and die, or like a lot of babies would just die. Like the infant mortality rate was like super high. So it's like the average lifespan or whatever, that the way they get that number is they just add up like all the people that died and their ages and then average it together. So like if a fuck ton of people are dying or babies are dying because we don't have the medicine to like keep them alive, right? Because we talked about how useless they are for the first 4 years, then like it's going to bring that average age down. So I forget how we even got to that, but
I have no idea.
I don't know. No one wants Biden to run. And then on the other end of that, which I think is really interesting, in the same poll, 61% of the same people, so 71% said no to Biden, 61% said no to Trump.
Dude, it shouldn't be either of them. Like that.
No, exactly. I agree. Like, it needs to be neither of them. It needs to be someone that's preferably younger than 65 years old. Like, can we not have a fucking septuagenarian or octogenarian like in the fucking position to run the country?
Well, that's the thing is like
how hard is it to get someone in their 40s or 50s to run for president?
Well, the thing is like you do at least want them to have like, you don't want someone 36.
No. Especially now that like we're getting a little bit older, like I'm 30, like are you 32? To think of someone that's like 37 that would be president, I'd be like, I don't necessarily know if I want someone. I
hang out, dude. I play golf with these people.
Yeah.
They are not fit to run the fucking country.
Like 55 is probably.
I would say 55 is a good number.
Yeah, I think Obama was like 45 when he was elected. He was like pretty young. But
yeah, well, you know what? He was smart enough not to fucking do anything. So
yeah, exactly. Besides drone strike people.
Well, I mean, don't just gloss over that.
This is one of my favorite stats is Republicans always bring it up. They're like, oh, President Obama had the most drone strikes ever of any president. And I sit there and I'm like, well, drones really have only existed for like 15 years.
Right, the first guy who could actually use them.
Yeah. So it's like, and Trump was only in office for 4 years, right? So like if drones really became like popularized between 2008 and 2016 when Obama was in office, and like theoretically, like if Trump had 2 terms, like he might have drone striked more people than Obama, and then the next guy would, you know what I mean? Like it's like, I don't know. I think it's a stupid statistic where like, oh yeah, Obama drone strike more people than any president in the history. It's like, well, JFK didn't have drones. Neither did Thomas Jefferson or Jimmy Carter or Bill Clinton even. Like, I'm pretty sure like the first drones were probably invented during like the Bush presidency. So like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, that's just a dumb statistic. But the fact of the matter is no one wants Biden or Trump, which I totally agree with. I don't want either of them either. Give me someone that's not fucking old as dirt. Someone like, oh, I don't know, maybe Tulsi Gabbard.
No.
But yeah.
I think she's done.
She's too reasonable.
I think she's done.
Well,
because now she's not on a side anymore.
I was just going to say she's essentially committed political suicide because she's a registered Democrat, but she hangs out with Republicans. Yeah. So like in a normal functioning world, like that should be like
perfect.
Holy shit, that's perfect. Like that's the person you want, but we're not in a normal functioning world. So she's essentially just destroyed her chances of ever winning now. But what can you do, right? Besides wrap it up. you got a final thought?
Yeah. So this was sent to the group of the 4 of us. Mm-hmm. And I still read it and laugh. Obviously it's fucking, so the Babylon Bee, which is a parody, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
Clarence Thomas receives invite to celebration of first Black Supreme Court justice. And then the next picture. So now that's from the Babylon Bee. That's a parody. It's The Onion. It's whatever.
Yeah. That, and I also don't know when that was published.
I don't either, but I also like that he's like flipping through his mail. It's a fucking Bed Bath Beyond coupon, whatever.
Yeah.
So then a tweet from Good Morning America, blue check mark. And this is the headline. Kintaji Brown Jackson is sworn in as the first Black Supreme Court justice in U.S. history. Well, a couple things here. Number one, there's a current Black Supreme Court justice.
Correct.
So thus, mathematically cannot be the first.
Yes.
Now that current Black Supreme Court justice replaced the actual first Black Supreme Court justice. Now, I don't know anything about Thurgood Marshall except he was first, so I can't tell you anything about him.
Yeah.
But Clarence Thomas is a conservative, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that's why the Democrats are trying to pretend like he doesn't exist.
Yep.
So he's not your poster boy for like, ooh, current Black Supreme Court justice because he's on the wrong side. That's why this is happening.
Well, it's the same thing we talked earlier about Larry Elder. The left called Larry Elder the black face of white supremacy. Like he's black. But it's that's
Clayton
how
Bigsby.
He's Clayton Bigsby essentially. So like that's how these people's minds work. It's like if you don't agree with me and you're black, you're not actually black, which is wicked fucking racist, right? Like that's,
well, it's like the doctor. Do you ever see what Nikos retweets?
Sometimes. I don't think
I forget his name, but he just goes around and he'll literally call black people out for like acting white or whatever. There's a word for that. I don't know how racist or not racist it is to say that, so we'll just let that kind of go. But he will literally call out black people for like not like for like acting like too white in a way.
Yeah.
Which actually is probably the exact opposite, because it's not like a white supremacy thing. It's just whatever.
Yeah.
Fucking world's wild. Anyway, so Thurgood Marshall, though, I don't think he was a conservative.
No, I think
because he was a civil rights activist.
I was going to say, I think he cut his teeth on like the civil rights.
And it was like Brown versus Board of Education. Like that's what he, like he was there. Like he was a lawyer for that.
Yeah.
So that doesn't scream conservative for me.
No.
So it is nice that we just like, rewrite whatever. Mm-hmm. Now, what will the defenders say?
Oh, well, she's the first female black.
Oh, you got to read the article.
Or black female, sorry.
Right. No, you got to read the article.
Yeah.
Because in the article, it does say in the first sentence, the first black woman in history to sit on the nation's highest court. Okay. So my only issue is I believe this was a live stream that Good Morning America was doing. They were live streaming the ceremony, or at least like the swearing in process. I don't know, because I'm looking at it and it's like 28, 30 views, 19 seconds. Like that's a live video. Yeah. So why would I read the article if you're posting a live video where you tell me that it's the first black Supreme Court justice in U.S. history?
When in fact, she's the third.
When in fact, she's the third, and there's a current one on the thing.
Yeah.
I just hope he got his invite.
Yeah. So I found the Babylon Bee article. It was from April 8th.
Of this year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So on April 8th of 2022, the Babylon Bee posted this article that said Clarence Thomas receives invite to the celebration of first black Supreme Court justice. And then literally 8 weeks later, Good Morning America puts that out.
I don't know. We're too stupid to exist.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know that was probably clickbait. It was like, oh, come look at me. Like, oh, we made a mistake, but you people are paying attention, whatever, more engagement, whatever.
Yeah.
I just laugh because it's like literally like everything that happens is becoming a parody of itself, except what used to be a parody is now the reality.
Yeah. It's like
everything, everything in Chappelle's show is almost coming through. Everything that was a joke in Chappelle's show is coming through borderline in some sort of truth now.
Yeah, certainly. As a society, we jumped the shark, right? We are officially we've been a TV show for so long that we've become a parody of ourselves.
Yes.
The things we used to, exactly what you just said, the things we used to joke about in the 90s and the early 2000s, the aughts, if you will, has now become reality. And it's okay, this is like when the TV show gets to season 7 or 8, and it's all right, you guys are kind of losing it a little bit. You're losing touch. You're recycling shit from season 4, or okay, it's really not that interesting anymore. You know what's great? A great example of this is 24, right? So 24 was one of my favorite shows when it was on TV. Right about I think it peaked at seasons 4 and 5, and then seasons 6, 7, and 8 quite literally became a parody of itself, right? The shit that Jack Bauer would get himself into and then have to get out and do all this. All right, you guys are getting a little ridiculous now. This is dumb. You know what I mean? In the earlier seasons, he would get abducted and have to break himself out or whatever. But by season 8, he would get abducted out of his car while driving, mid-drive, thrown in the van, hung up by his feet, and make it out by pulling a pipe out of the ceiling and using that to kill. It's all right, you guys are doing a little too much here. And that's where we're at. That's where we're at right now as a society.
Every show that has ever parodized society, and it was wow, that's funny because it's extreme and crazy, it is now coming true. South Park, Chappelle.
Yep.
I assume Key and Peele,
yeah. The Simpsons.
Yep. Everything.
So, everything.
It's true. All of it.
All right. So my final thought is this came up. I'm going to save that one. I'm going to go to this one. So, because we've just been shitting on, the world today. 2021 was listed as the unhappiest year on record.
Right? Dude, why?
Yeah, right. So I forget the numbers and exact statistics, but it was like whatever the percentages were of the people polled, I think they said things like they had more social strife is what they listed as one of their big things. Financial hardship was another one. Economic, what's the word? Not faithfulness, or like when you have confidence, like economic confidence was another one, or lack thereof, I guess. They listed like all these things, and like they said like that's 2021 on record was the unhappiest year. Now, I don't know when they started recording this like happiness thing, but out of all of this shit, right? 2021 most unhappiest on record. People talk about, again, the economic instability, the financial hardship, the social strife, and all this stuff. And yet we have people that sit around in the White House being like, no, everything's great. The economy is awesome.
Yeah, the economy is not awesome.
Yeah. They're like, oh no, people have so much more money. People on average, people have way more money in their savings accounts. It's like, what, where is that? Like, where do these people exist?
What the fuck is that a measure of?
I don't know.
The fuck is that? That is not a measure of anything.
Yeah. But you want to talk about like completely out of touch, right? Like that's basically what we've been saying, right? Is how out of touch everybody on the left is. And I actually saw.
So I have a question. Is that an argument from like the Democratic side? Like, oh, people have way more money in there.
Yeah.
Okay. So work with me here and don't forget your thought. What is one counter to that argument that people would make?
I don't even know.
So you could also argue, well, that doesn't acknowledge the people who don't have a savings account. What about the poor people who don't have a savings account?
Right.
So it's like they can't have more money in it because they don't even have one. They go, they're paycheck to paycheck. They spend all their money's gone, whatever. And like, wouldn't that be a very, very liberal point of view?
Yeah. You would think, or like liberal, 15 years ago.
I'm telling you, I'm actually the only, and I'm not concerned about the lead up to the election. I'm only concerned about the results come November. I'm really, really interested to know if the Democrats have absolutely fucking ate their own.
I think so. I think they're so out of touch, right? Like all we've seen is examples of this over the last however many months is how out of touch they are.
And you're
like
giving
the whole lithium thing. Like we started at the beginning of the show being like, oh, just buy an electric car if you don't like the price of gas, except the price of electric cars is going to go up because we're going to now tax lithium, which is what makes the batteries for electric cars.
And it's almost like if you are of the liberal side and you don't like Republicans, then why do you keep giving them free ammunition? Like they're using your arguments against you.
Yeah.
Like because the conservative side can easily say it's like, oh, the economy is great. It's like savings money in saving accounts high. What about those that don't have a savings account? What about those that don't have enough money? What about those who spend all like they're like money in, money out because they can't afford their living situation. Like that should be the liberal side working towards stabilizing the economy, looking out for the poor, less fortunate, minority, whatever.
Right.
But you're giving that argument to the Republicans. Like that's insane to me.
Yeah, they're literally. So Vinny actually sent me this video of a guy on Twitter earlier. It's 2 minutes long. I'm not going to play the whole 2 minutes, but the first like 45 seconds is great. It's this guy who actually is a liberal, and listen to what he has to say.
I'm not going to shut up about this. I'm not, because I can't yell at the Republicans. They're not going to change. They are who they are. We're stuck with them. We're not going to change them. You can't shame them. You can't convince them. You can't trick them. You can't fucking outplan them. But I can yell at the Democratic Party. And I can tell them where they can at least make one fucking small change to stop pissing me the fuck off every hour right now. Stop sending me fundraising requests right now. Okay? The Republican Party had a plan for the last 50 years to overturn Roe v. Wade. We had a leak 5 weeks ago telling us that this exact thing was going to happen. And your response after 5 weeks of careful study and planning and thought has been to send us nonstop fundraising emails. All right. So let me just read you a quick list. Mark Warner.
Okay. So then he goes on to list the net worth of like all of like these Democrats that are sending out fundraising requests. And spoiler alert, they're all in like the tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah, but they only make 100
or hundreds of millions of dollars.
They only make $150K a year. How's that possible?
So he goes on this whole thing and says like, you're worth $140 million. Stop sending me a fundraising request. But like, he has a point, right? And I think a lot of people on the liberal side are starting to be like that guy, right? Like, because it's true. Like any sane person is going to look at that and be like, again, his words, for 50 years, Republicans have been trying to overturn Roe v. Wade. You've had 50 years to vote and codify that into legislation. So then like it essentially rules the Supreme Court. It takes the Supreme Court's ruling out of it, right? They're obsolete when it comes to that because it's law. It's law of the land. You had 50 years to do that and you did nothing. And then you had 5 weeks ago, there was a leak that said it was going to happen. So you knew it was going to happen for 5 weeks. And all you did was send fundraising emails. You didn't try and get a vote together. You didn't try and be like, we need to codify this now. Like some people talked about it in the news, but there was no like actual effort. And I think a lot of people are like that guy where they're like, fuck this. This is ridiculous. Like, I think it's going to be an absolute fucking bloodbath in November.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, and I've seen it. And I hear it and I see it and everything. And it's like, it's getting to the point where everyone is so emotional with everything. And I'm even talking like everything that's come up, Floyd, Rittenhouse, January 6th, like everything. Everyone's become so emotional that they just throw any actual thought and logic out the window. Mm-hmm. And again, it generally comes from like a liberal side. Like it seems like, and again, I'm speaking generally from Massachusetts. I get a lot of opportunity for that. I'm sure the same way that people are like clamoring for us to like maybe gloss over the process just to get the emotional result they want. There's a Western Baptist church in Georgia that's hates gay people and
right,
white power this. Like, we just don't see that because we're in Massachusetts, obviously.
Right.
But it's like, that stuff don't make the news. That stuff's happening fucking behind the scenes. So like, no one talking about that.
Right.
Also, it's old news, but like, I don't know. It just seems like a lot of people are like kind of eating their own and just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What's happening.
Yeah. They're out of touch. And like I said, that was my whole final thought was 2021 was the unhappiest year.
Yeah. Wait till 2022.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever that measure is. I forgot that was the original final thought. Yeah. Wait till this year.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see.
Like you thought last year people were unhappy.
Yeah.
Because they had to wear a mask in the grocery store. I fucking drove by the gas station. I go, oh, gas is down. $4.79.
Yeah, I said the same thing the other day.
I saw $4.79.
I go, oh, wow, gas is only $4.79. I go, wow,
gas is coming down.
Yeah.
I remember when the first time it hit $3.56.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's high.
I remember the first time it hit $4 and I was like, Jesus Christ, this is miserable. And now I'm like, oh, it's $4.79. It's coming down.
I think that's because I saw $3.56. Like, wow, that's a lot. And then it was $4.09. Like by the time I fucking drove past the fucking gas station. And now I sit here, I go, wow, $4.79. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't $4.99. Like
right.
Fucking craziness.
Yeah. It's fucking ridiculous. You know what's not ridiculous though is mybookie.com. if you go over there and you sign up using our promo code SarcasmPod, they will double your first deposit up to $1,000. So, your $4.79 gas, the 20 cents that you just saved on your gas, you can put that in your first deposit at mybookie.com and they will match it.
We got not this coming, so this is coming on Thursday. So not today, but a week from today when this actually airs.
Yeah.
Open Championship.
Open. Yeah. Open Championship, British Open, whatever you want to call it.
Please have some fucking respect. It's the Open Championship.
Yeah. So you can bet on
British
that.
Open. With
Sarcasm Pod, double your first deposit again, up to $1,000. Also, big thanks to and shout out to grillyourassoff.com. Use the same promo code SarcasmPod at grillyourassoff.com, actually for 10% off. So you want to talk about how the unhappiest time alive and inflation, you can blame inflation. You know what? You can blame Biden. Actually, he's going to blame Putin. So whoever you want to blame, because of inflation, the grillyourassoff.com promo code now is 10% off. It's not 15 anymore. They had to drop it down because, Putin's price hike, right? So you can go to grillyourassoff.com, use the promo code SarcasmPod to get 10% off your entire order every single time you check out. So you lose a little 5% there, but you can still use it every single time you check out. I just bought more hot sauce the other day, and that's how I found out it switched to 10%. So still great. grillyourassoff.com over there. You can get us on Instagram at Sarcasm Speaks Pod, on Twitter at Sarcasm_speaks. Facebook is Sarcasm Speaks. The website, sarcasmspeaks.com. Go to the merch store, buy some merch, like, rate, thumbs up, review, YouTube, wherever you're listening. If you're audio only, go over there. Tell everybody you know about the show. And until next time.